fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Bet C6R, the Aston Martin DBR9. Two titans of the old school style of GT racing, immortalized here on iRacing. Two transatlantic rivals, each with wins at Le Mans. Here they are on SimSpeed TV for the Oceanic Sim Racing GT1 Challenge. They're an older style of GT racer that a lot of people really like, more focus on power, displacement, driving talent, less downforce, less driver aids. They produce some great racing, and we're going to see some tonight. I'm David Haynes. In our production is Jay Kennedy, and joining me is Corey Ott. Corey, round 4, Donington Park, qualifying underway right now. We've got a 28-lap race coming up tonight.
Yep, 28 laps of the Donington Grand Prix layout. It is a layout that does not like mistakes. It does not have any sort of tarmac runoff area at all. It is curb, then grass if you make a mistake. So qualifying here will be very tough for a lot of these drivers avoiding 1Xs. But tonight we're in the basically Aston Martin's home ground here in United Kingdom. So, but as you said, 28 laps. They have to stop once for fuel. It's going to be a very interesting event here tonight.
Yeah, precisely. Donington Park, one time the host of the British Grand Prix, now a home to all manner of British club racing, GT racing. British GT come here with GT3 and GT4 specification cars these days, not these old school beasts. One of which is this Corvette C6R. We're watching Marie Hruska, winner of last round at, that was VIR. Well, she's currently second in qualifying as it stands right now, and you can see in the column on the right hand side she's going to have to find about 0.4 of a second to Craig Edwards if she's going to manage to put that car on pole. It's the Grand Prix layout here, sort of a circuit of two minds of two characters. The first sector are very, very flowing, lots of smooth corners, and the final sector is sort of made up of a chicane and two hairpins. And Marie there, I don't think has managed to improve, Corey.
No, she was only 0.2 off her best lap. But as you said, this Grand Prix layout is very much two types of circuits rolled into one. You've got the first part of the layout, which is flow. You've got to keep the flow of the car around the circuit, especially we see here with Troy, he spins the car, but out of turn 1, down the hill into the old airpin. It's all about keeping the car, keeping the flow of the car, keeping the car on the toes. And then as you enter the back straight, you head into a left-right flick of a chicane, as you would call it, into what is basically a section of two hairpins. You know, hardest person to hit the brakes into those corners will basically win a position. But as you can see here, we're with Thomas is the moment coming out of the what would be the last corner on the national circuit, down the back straight here. The longest straight on the circuit, but it's not really that long in terms of straights. You can see the left-right chicane. It's very easy to get a 1X here if you're not careful. And then this section here, it's all about how late can you get on the brakes. And can you get the line out of this hairpin right? See, Thomas locked it up a little bit there on the exit of the corner now. So his best time is a 1:21.9. I don't know if he will beat it here. No, he won't. He'll pull off here and reset the car. But as back on the point as well, it's the character of this circuit, like most old style circuits, all about your flow, not hitting the grass. This circuit though, you've got hairpins at the end of the circuit. So 26 laps, basically, if my maths is correct, 52 opportunities to get a position.
Yep, so 30 minutes of qualifying is the session, all cars on track at once. Of course, we've joined partway through that qualifying session and it's now in its final third. We're watching Reese Gardner, Southpaw racer, And here's Aston Martin there, 4th place. He'll probably be pretty happy with that. But the gaps, the margins between drivers at the front, a little bit more here at Donington than we've seen at some of the previous rounds. We had a very, very close finish at VIR. It went down to the line at Spa as well. And somewhat famously, the top 4 cars on the grid for that one were all within a 1/10 of a second of each other. It's been very, very close margins, at least at the top in this championship, until now, where this man, Craig Edwards, who is on pole provisionally right now, has possibly the most comfortable margin anyone's enjoyed in this series so far.
Yeah, the usually pole in these qualifying sessions so far this season have been very close to the point. You know, our last broadcast at Spa, it was a mere, not even a 1/10 separating the top 4, but at the moment it's a whole 3/10 separating first to second. As Edwards across the line, he will go better, 20 points, 777, and the weather conditions for him the whole time we've been in this session have been favourable to him. But can Maria beat it though? She's now got to gain half a second over this 4.02 kilometre layout. So it's a hard ask for her at the moment, but she could do it if she is lucky.
Yeah, indeed. The weather conditions right now, it's 9:30 a.m. in the morning in the sim time. And the weather today, as it probably is a lot of days in the UK, is mostly cloudy. So what we've got is pretty cool track temperatures of about 18 degrees Celsius right now. But every now and again, the sun manages to poke its way out from behind those English clouds, warms up the track temperature a little bit. And some of these cars can sometimes be quite sensitive to those track temperature changes, especially if you're constantly on the limit of the grip like you are here in the first and the middle sector of the track, where you just keep sweeping and then you're braking and then turning and then accelerating and then up the hill here. We're watching Warren Pickering on his lap trying to improve from 10th through that section of the track, the first sector and the middle sector. That's where I would expect track temperature variation would very much affect the lap times there.
Yeah, it's and also as well with that, a lot of guys have been struggling with the differential not really working, or the TC, or both, with it spinning up. The non-gripped up reel basically is a differential tries to not is there to not do. But yeah, middle sector and especially the exit of the hairpins, I think will be a really big challenge for when the track does heat up during the race. So you've got to have a set that is good with cold track temperatures and also with hot track temperatures. So it's really a game of who's got the best, who's got the most compromised setup for the conditions at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. We've got about 19 drivers on track trying to qualify right now. And it's certainly a track that's not quite as long as Spa. There's not quite as much space for everyone. And we saw some of these drivers starting or completing some flying laps. And I think it was our man, Reece Gardner, was just waiting patiently at the pit exit for a place to put his car. And here's Matthew Nethercote in 5th, flying along. So I think the traffic will be a little bit more of a factor here. It would be at some of the longer length circuits where the cars have more space to spread out.
Yeah, it's and you know, it's a really, as a usual UK track, it's sort of a narrow track width-wise. Length-wise, it is shorter, but as short than Spa by about, well, nearly 3 kilometres. So really hard to find space in his qualifying session. So it's all about when you get the car out and what gap you can find yourself in. So see, Nethercote is coming towards the end of his lap. He's only got one more hairpin to negotiate. At the moment, his best is a 21.712. Which is nearly a full second off pole. So here we go at the last hairpin. Will he go better or will he not? Crosses the start-finish line. No, he won't. About 2 seconds off, so let's see if he can go on for another lap. But track, well, sorry, not track temp, but the climate at the moment, it's overcast and it's staying like that. It's the longest I think it's stayed overcast for the whole entire session. So if you want to do your best laps, go do them now.
Yeah, precisely. And although we were maybe hoping for a closer gap for pole position, if you look from about third on down, it's very, very close from about this man, Reece Gardner. You only go about 4/10 back from him, and you're down 11th place. So the mid-pack and around that bubble, around the top 10, I'm expecting, hopefully, in the race, will be very, very close. And when the lap times are that close, when the drivers are that close, that's when things like the pit stop strategy can play into an advantage. If you're 10th place but the same pace as someone in 4th position, then saving a little bit of fuel or anything you can work around your strategy be very clever. And Corey, just as you mentioned it, I think the sun is out now, and that's caught out Reece Gardner, who goes very, very deep on the brakes into the last corner.
Yeah, had that front left locked up for at least 20 metres there on the entry. Didn't really help him with the apex or the exit, but you know, it's all about, as you said before, it's all about going to be strategy tonight. Short circuit, really high tempers, as you would say, and it's all about strategy. You know, do you want to undercut the guy in front? Do you want to save a bit of fuel behind him, get in front of him and stop? You maybe want to do the risk and overcut him, see if he can undercut you, and then you overcut him by getting the pace. But then that means you'll waste more fuel. So it's going to be who's got the best strategy. And at the moment, if Craig has got it right, he could win it. But still 2 minutes, 10 seconds left in this qualifying session. So there's still someone out there that could beat his time.
Yep, certainly still time to start a flying lap. And if Thomas Hinds doesn't improve on this one, and if he's got fuel, he'll get one more run at it. He's just approaching the final corner here now. Doesn't matter so much in qualifying, but in the race, to the left there is the pit entry on the inside of the final corner. Drivers taking the pit entry will have a slower apex speed at the final corner than drivers who are staying out. We'll see if that causes any conflict, or if it's only a slightly subtle effect. Hanging it out there was Thomas Hinds, and so is Bo Albert, who knows that this is probably his last chance to try and improve. It's mostly black. Altus Esports Aston Martin DBR9.
Yeah, only a minute 13 left, so anyone that's on a lap now, this will be their last shot at a lap. So Bo Albert, this will be his last lap. Well, actually, no, sorry, you'll get one more attempt when he crosses the line if he's got enough fuel or enough patience to try and get the car up as high as he can. So if you're near the end of the lap, you still got one more chance to do it. But other than that, your luck is ran out. So through the last corner, a bit of a lock up there going in. I think it didn't really compromise his exit so much. What will he do? 21-1. That does improve him and puts him in the second. Puts him ahead of Marie, but is still 4/10 away from Craig Edwards. Simon Black here comes across the line as well. Will he go better? Yes, he will. 22-1. Doesn't count. So he did got an off track there. So there you go. Off tracks are hurting people at the moment. So we're getting our
few
last
places around here that you can get one as well, including that chicane. We're just seeing Warren Pickering come through, but also almost everywhere, as you mentioned. Not a lot of runoff anywhere, but particularly I'm thinking about the old hairpin. That's one you either cut a bit too much of or can very easily run wide from. Warren Pickering, well, the time has elapsed now. This will need to be an improvement for him because he will have no further chances.
Yep, and there you go, comes back. So what will he do? 20.4 does not count though. So, oh, it did. Oh, he got a 21 set. All right, so just time played a little bit. So his laps are done. Anyone else that is on a lap? Carl Raper is on a lap to number 11. Aston Martin there, so he's coming through the second last hairpin. If you go off the corner names, you could say that is the second hairpin on the circuit, but technically the first one. So go to the last corner. What will he do here? A little bit loose on the grass. What will it be?
Number of 49 seconds is clearly not accurate, and we saw what actually was not an improvement. Only two more cars out there from what I can see. Nathan Huppets and Warren Pickering. Looking at Huppets right here, 11th place, sort of on the right on the cusp of being in the top 10 there. Knock Cameron Dance down if he could do that. Behind on the circuit is Warren Pickering. Only two drivers left to complete a lap for qualifying will be complete for this round 4 of the Oceanic Sim Racing GT1 Challenge. Slightest of improvements there from Nathan Huppets, I think. Unfortunately, he's made an error there somewhere with it. It won't count. And there's Warren Pickering, I think, pulling into the pits and decides that he's not going to improve his lap there. So here is your qualifying order. Craig Edwards is on pole position by, I think, the biggest margin we've seen all season, ahead of Bo Albert, who grabs himself second place. Row 2 will be Marie Hrushka and Reese Gardner. Third row of the grid is Adam Briggs in 5th place and Matthew Nethercote in 6th. And behind them, Warren Pickering has 7th place and Thomas Hinz has 8th place on the grid.
Yep, both of those with exactly identical times. And we go to row number 5, which is Michael Healy and Cameron Dancer. He'll finish off the top 10. You've got Nathan Huppets, Carl Raper, Ashley Lear, Troy Maguire, Simon Black, Oliver Fullerton, and then our last 3 guys with qualifying laps, Chris Barnes, Mitchell McLeod, and Simon Gelly will finish off your 19-car field here. And by the looks of things, it's a standing start here tonight.
So that's a bit of a change there, but a standing start is what we will have. I hope everyone is prepared for that. Craig Edwards has 1st place on the grid and the inside line for the first corner. A minute left now, all the drivers gridding up. Soon we will get underway for 28 laps of racing here at Donington Park. You can see they're mostly cloudy. Some of your weather conditions, 28 laps, 1 compulsory pit stop. Track temp's pretty cool, pretty grippy, little bit of a breeze, not too much. So the weather conditions, nothing especially crazy. As you see there, here we are, Donington Park Racing Circuit. Just under 4 kilometers. Spa is almost exactly 7. This is a little bit of a shorter track. 28 laps means it'll be a pretty wide pit window there with a 50% size fuel tank. We'll see when drivers choose to take that pit, Corey, but we're just ticking down the time, waiting for race start.
Yeah, the most fuel you can save at the start of ridding up is sort of going to help you at the end, but it's not really a lot. So we've still got, I think, 1 or 2 more guys to grid. Time now ticks down to 0. We will get the red lights here soon. Here we go. Revs rise, V12s and V8s. 28 laps of Donington Park is underway. Oh,
Carnage at the background there already. One of the Aston Martin DBR9s getting collected. Nathan Huppets, not the start he would have wanted at all. Clearly the standing start has caught him out. Potentially the same for Ashley Lear. These guys not was possible, I believe, to stall these cars now, but right up front. It's a great getaway from Craig Edwards. Bo Albert is being pressured now by that Corvette of Marie Hrushka, using all of the track limits, and right behind them in 4th place, so the orange, blue and white car of Reese Gardner is right in there as well, along with Adam Briggs for DPR Racing. Similar colours, different schemes though. For a way, it's pretty clean for everyone except those cars at the back of the grid, but they are rolling now. It was a little bit of an unfortunate incident, Corey. Let's see the replay.
Yeah, the motion simulation replay here. I think what might have happened is someone didn't really get the clutching right or just stalled it. So what's happened here? Oh, I don't know if he went or not, but it looks as though everyone was not expecting a car to be stopped on the grid. So we're going Simon Black here on board. What happened here?
Looks like Nathan Huppets has stalled it, and Ashley Lear was the car immediately behind on the grid. It's gone into the side of him, and Simon Black was sort of couldn't see a thing and has not been able to react to it. Here's your view from on board Nathan Huppets. That just doesn't go anywhere at all and just immediately collected by the cars behind.
Yeah, that really won't help his race at all. So if I was him, I think I'd pit in for the fast repair. But at the moment, out the front, Bo and Craig have made a little bit of a breakaway from Maria Hrushka with Reese Gardner, Adam Briggs and Warren Pickering in tow. So it's a little bit of a breakaway for me, but if you were wanting to save fuel, get the strategy upper hand. But behind the deads, and clear. Or is that, oh sorry, Oliver as well. Side by side there, but got it done. Not really a good place to go side by side around here, but if you get it done, you can get it done. And Chris Barnes and Oliver Fullerton. Now Cam is ahead of those two, so he'll try and get the breakaway on those. And there's Pickering through on Briggs, and Briggs might have a look here into the first hairpin, or actually, he will go by. Oh. Pickering might have to slow down, but look at the trick SimSpeed Aston behind him. Had a look, he might have another one around the outside. Into the last corner, around the outside, will he get it done? Michael Healy will get it done. He's actually going to take the slowdown even more. He did have a slowdown there, so he'll lose a lot of spots. He'll lose 3 to 4 spots, in fact. He'll tuck in, but he will tuck in behind Nethercote, who has just got passed by him. So a lot of passing going on here in the first few laps.
Racing fantastic up the front of the field. The two Aston Martins here going very ferociously at it. Hins has gotten through. Nethercote really looks like he would want that back. And the exit of this corner, that's one of the places I was talking about. It's very easy to pick up a slowdown there. Car just really wants to slide wide. Riding on board with Nethercote, hunting down Hins once again. See some of the leaders just in that picture as well. So all the way through your top 10, very close. And here's Reese Gardner looking, sizing up that Corvette of Hrushka. It's one of the few Corvettes in the field for this race. Probably a circuit that we thought might have favoured the Aston, but thought that last week about VIR as well, and Hrushka managed to grab the win. A little bit of a wiggle through the hairpin there. That Corvette, it's got the displacement, it's got the torque, but maybe slightly less of the finesse of the Aston Martin. And further back, Hins and Nethercote is continuing to be a fight. And as they battle each other, I think Warren Pickering has gotten himself back up to speed again after a bit of a shaky start.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a gap though between him and what he was battling for P5, which was Briggs. So he's got a little bit of catching up to do, but he's got Hins and Nethercote there to really help him. The motion simulation replay here looks like McLeod and Fullerton getting into each other at the last corner. It was always a pass. Oh, a little bit of a moment there from McLeod as well. So there you go. Pass in the back of the field there. So McLeod is through, but you can see Hins, Nethercote still going at it.
Nethercote runs a little bit wider of the apex. I think that lets Hins pick up the throttle earlier. Will Nethercote defend to the inside of the chicane? He doesn't. Hins decides he doesn't want to pass there. Maybe he'll try and set it up through this chicane. Look a bit tidier for him. He'll think about it on the brakes into the hairpin. A stronger braking zone than into the chicane. But Hins doesn't manage to do anything about it this time. He locks up a little bit, and Pickering is absolutely back on the pace again. He must have given Hins just the tiniest of nudges there. Pickering would like to get back through.
Yeah, and Hins is now a little bit further back from Nethercote than what he would like as well. So Pickering would also like to get by Hins. Going to turn 1 here. Very, very close there to the rear of Hins' car. But I wonder where he'll get the move done, as Carl Raper is in the pits, either for his compulsory pit stop or something else. But back to this battle here for P8. They're all over the joint, out of the whole hairpin. And Hins is sort of catching up to Nethercote as well. Pickering a little bit of a moment under the brakes. Now this corner here, it's an uphill approach. You never see the apex until you're on the top of that climb. They'll all go through there nice and smoothly, but Hins' gain from Pickering, it is catching back up to Nethercote. So he could be on the back of his car again in the next lap or so. As in front, sorry, but in front, P4 is on. I think Reese might have had a slowdown because Reese is now right behind him. And Reese did not lose that spot, which is good for him, but he's also lost a lot of time to Marie in front. Again, wide at the hairpin. Side by side. I think Briggs might have it here, but Reese has got the inside of turn 1. Briggs has got the nose in front, but he'll have the better brakes. It'll be Reese into 1, Will Briggs let him go? Yes, he will. Gets the run, has to sort of back it off, but he still goes for it anyway. Side by side of the whole hairpin. Who's going to lift off? Are they going to go through side by side? Oh, they are. No, Reese will let him go. But that'll help. That won't help Briggs. It'll help Reese, though. Reese Gardner through on the point. Same with Healy. There you go. Briggs lost 2 spots in the matter of 1 corner, basically.
Yeah, just too ambitious there. He's gone in too deep, and Michael Healy has not needed a second invitation. And suddenly, 4th through to 10th is all one battle, because right up on the back of it now is Briggs, Nethercoat, and Hinz, and you can see them all. A train of mostly Aston Martins, and right at the back there's Troy Maguire in the second running of the Corvettes, trying to stick with this battle. Hinz and Pickering continue to battle here. Hinz is sort of trying to look to the inside of Nethercoat, but also trying to defend the inside there. Healy, well, he's got Briggs trying to come back. Briggs is going to have the inside for the final corner. Behind that, it's Maguire done.
Yeah, Maguire is through. Maguire is through on Pickering, but a little bit of a tap between Pickering and Hinz won't help their chances anyway. Maguire, though, looks for a move, doesn't go for it, though, into turn 1. Troy could have had it done, but I think the Corvette might be struggling with a bit too much rear brake light to stop the car, because I've seen it on multiple occasions, the rear of those Corvettes going out a little bit too much into the corners. Through old hairpin they go. And that little battle they had out of the second last corner doesn't really help them, because they've now lost a bit of time to Nethercoat in front in that battle pack for 4th. But that battle pack for 5th, Briggs is going to go have a look. He will get it done though. They give each other plenty of space. Briggs is now ahead of Healy, but Nethercoat is right there, ready and waiting to see what he can pick up.
All of this lets Reese Gardner skip away just a little bit. Looking here, Nethercoat's coming down the inside of Healy, just gets the nose in there, goes in a little bit deep. Healy can't cross it back. So that's Nethercoat doing well. And Briggs has had an issue there in the head.
Yeah, I think his internet did cut out for a tiny bit there, which hasn't helped him a lot. So that's promoted Nethercoat up to 5th. So he's now the head of this queue, trying to catch up to Gardner in front. And now all of a sudden, that queue's really changed its format, and they're hunting for Mr. Reese Gardner up front in that 4th spot.
Craig Edwards leading the field back to Bo Albert. The gap is 2 seconds. Another second behind that's Marie Hrushka. And then Reese Gardner finds himself a further 5 seconds adrift of that, pulling out just a little bit of a gap on 5th place, Matthew Nethercoat, who leads the mid-pack train here. Warren Pickering trying to grab a spot back from Troy Maguire. They've just gone through the section of the track that ought to favour the Aston Martin most. From here onwards should be Corvette hunting territory. It's not quite looking like that right now as they approach the chicane. Downhill braking zone. Gotta flick it in with confidence, but if you've got too much confidence, you cut the circuit, you'll pick yourself up a penalty or run wide. Pickering's going to look to the inside of the hairpin. He's a long way back. He still chucks it in.
But Reese in front had a bit of a problem there, but he chucks it in, but Troy will get the run out the corner. Troy won't go defensive. Pickering wants a little bit more brakes there from Pickering, but couldn't get it done. And they're all single file. They're right behind each other. Hinz, Maguire, Pickering, and it's on for 2nd now because Bo has either made a mistake or Maria's got some time. Corvette first, Aston for P2.
Sloppy lap last time from Bo. He's done a 23.1 compared to a 22.3 for Hrushka. That's 0.8 of a second, and that's what's brought her right back into play. Don't know exactly where the mistake was, but this time it's the Corvette that runs a little bit wide. She's certainly in the mirrors, and it is all proper mirrors that these old school GT cars have, none of those rear-facing cameras. So looking here, Briggs had that issue where he went off course in the final sector in the hairpin, finds himself all the way back down in 12th, and he's sizing up Ashley Lear. It's all over the back of him. He's going to try and look to the inside of the chicane, Corey.
Yeah, he's going to have a look, but he'll back out of it because it's not really good passing spot, that chicane. But up the front, though, that battle... Oh, no, we'll say with this one, though. Briggs looks to the inside. Will he get it done?
Briggs faking to the inside of the chicane really set up Ashley Lear to go in a bit too hot, mess up the exit, and then that really set Briggs up for the hairpin. So up into 11th place goes Adam Briggs. Now he's going to have to try and hunt down this pack, but Warren Pickering has decided he doesn't want to be at the end of that train anymore. 10 laps in, he thinks he's inside the pit window. He's going to take that fuel and get him to the end, try and undercut if he thinks he's losing a lot of time in the traffic. And certainly the battling in this middle pack from 5th through to 10th was pretty close. Some of the drivers were losing a little bit of time, so it was Pickering and Fullerton in the pits. Staying out is Gardner, Nethercote, Healy, Hinz and Maguire. That's how they run on track in this battle you see right here.
Yep, and I've just been seeing a little bit with the Corvettes. You can see how they're sort of unstable under the brakes into those medium speed corners. So the Corvette in the Aston Martin territory, it's not really sizing itself up well, and it's dropped a little bit of time to the Aston Martin runners in front of him. So, but an update as well, that battle for second has died off. Maria to go a bit too much into the chicane and sadly got him to slow down. So she is around 2 seconds behind Bo, but the battle for 5th is still on. They're all behind each other, bumper to bumper, and they're all thinking with either strategy or getting in front of the guy that's in front of you. Nethercote, Healy, Hinz, Maguire. That battle for 5th is still on, and it's raging as much as it's ever have.
Nethercote's a bit of a cork in the bottle right now. Healy can't get past, Hinz can't get past that. Troy Maguire is thoroughly sticking with that. Reece Gardner hasn't scampered away. He's doing about the same pace as Nethercote, just over a second clear. Here they come down through the middle sector of the track. Pretty tidy from everyone, especially Troy Maguire getting exactly to the apex. Through the sweeping corners where the Aston is just a little bit more stable. See, Maguire has to brake thoroughly in a straight line. A slow down for Reece Gardner. So Gardner loses contact with Nethercote.
This might, will they get through? No, Maguire will sadly T-bone Nethercote. One
Cameron
of the
Dance
Corvette
doesn't need a second invitation. He comes from 11th place up into 6th. So here's a replay of that incident. Reece Gardner had a slowdown, and trying to give up that slowdown, Matthew Nethercote thought he was clear, tried to turn into the apex of the corner. Maybe Reece has pushed a little bit wide. We'll see from this angle.
I think
Nethercote's gone for the apex, and that's spun him sideways across the track. And you mentioned earlier that that is a blind corner. You go in there blind. Troy Maguire, unfortunately, making contact. We've just seen this red and black car of contact there for Hinz and Maguire, but yeah, of the TTL car of Cam Dance has just threaded the needle perfectly, and now he finds himself up into 6th place. He was 11th before that incident.
I think he's counting his lucky stars at the moment, because that was something that you've never really seen happen so far. So he's now 0.7 of a second behind Healy. He's in draft range. He's got to use it to his advantage, but he has got Briggs behind him, hunting him down, wanting to go by him. And that battle is for 6th at the moment. Oh, big lock up there by Briggs. A little bit of a scampering moment. Rear coming out of that last corner there.
The drivers have got a fast repair available to them. Think of it as a spare car if you want to. They can get all manner of repairs done quickly in a pit stop. Thomas Hinz has decided to do that because we're in the pit window, so he's jumped in for his fuel and had all of his panels and suspension straightened out while doing that as well. So not a whole lot of loss to Thomas Hinz. It's also available to everyone else who hasn't pitted yet. Riding on board, big lock of oversteer there from Adam Briggs.
Yeah, these things do have TC, but they're not really effective TC as much. They're sort of, they only work on the straight line, not out of the corners. So, but as the two cars in front of them, we'll get a motion simulation replay here of Nethercote. I think this either was a slowdown or a mistake. into the second last corner. Yeah, he just either mistake or slow down, letting Ashley Lear go by. Actually, I think that was Mitchell McLeod. We're back up to the front, or back up to P6, I should say. Maguire there, I think, yeah, he's a lap car, so he's going to let those guys go through sensibly. Stops on off the racing line, so let's go with no harm, no foul. But Cam Dance is as close as ever to Michael Healy, half a second separated as they come to the chicane. He'll be the most committed through here without the 1X or the slowdown. It looks to be Healy, or actually no, it was Dance, sorry, gained a 10th then. Into the second last corner by the first, oh! Little dab of throttle there on the apex, helped him a bit catching up to Healy. Into the last corner, so...
Dance was so good on the brakes there, and he's taking a later apex through the final corner as well. Gain a bit more oversteer for Healy there, and Dance is very, very close. Briggs a couple car lengths back, just watching ever so eagerly. Nothing going into the first corner for Dance.
Yeah, I wonder if Dance will take note of what's happening here with Healy and hit this lap to get the undercut. Oh, a little bit wide there to the last corner, not really good with the push he had for the old airpin. All three of them go through there just as fine as they ever have. But now Dance is in big trouble. Briggs is down behind him again. So, and Briggs is going to catch it up. He's going to have a look to the right, to the inside here at this corner. Noses in there, they both view each other. Plenty of space. And I think Briggs might have it here, but Dance will have the inside line of the chicane. Drag race down the back straight. They're both going to go side by side. Briggs a little bit locked up on the rears. But they go by, no contact, no foul. Briggs had a very lucky moment there, but Dance is still through.
Yeah, here comes a replay of that one. It's pretty narrow, that section of track, and there was never really going to be room for Briggs to turn in while Dance was there, and you can see how early into turning into the corner he locked up those rears, had to grab a little bit of counter steer to stop it sliding away from him. Not the end of his race, we're halfway through the race now, so probably expecting to see quite a few more pit stops soon. Yeah, top 5 haven't. That's Edwards, Bo Albert, Hrushka, Reese Gardner, and Michael Healy still out, as have most drivers. Ashley Lear's in the pit lane right now, but expect to see it get a little busier soon.
Yeah, it's this fuel range. Oh, Briggs and Dance though is getting a little spicy again. Dance either had a bit of a not good exit out of the old airpin or a little slowdown because Briggs caught a lot of time up to him and he's now back behind him. So that menacing white DPR racing car behind Dance. Or sorry, white, blue and orange machine coming to the chicane. Oh, Briggs is a little bit wider there in the first part of it. Second part had taken a lot of curb to minimise the loss, but we'll still lose some time to Dance. Into the second last corner. See the rear of the car, they're not liking to be on the power, all over the louder pedal, but nothing happening in the rear. It's all over the joint. Through the last corner. No one's pitting out of this group yet. So I think they're going hammer and tong, but no fuel saving at all, as we now have less than halfway to go.
It's not an especially thirsty track. There's no super long straights where you spend a lot of time with the throttle wide open. It's a lot of flowing stuff like here where you can't keep the throttle wide open. That's Nethercoat getting past Simone Gelli, who hasn't pitted yet. Nethercoat has. So it's 4 position, but they're on different pit cycles there. Nethercoat in 13th place. He's already taken his pit stop. So we flash back to Dance and Briggs. Battle that's still very, very closely fought. And I wonder if it's just me seeing this, Corey, but it really looks like maybe there's some softer springs for Cam Dance's car. It really looks like the nose dives down a lot further under brakes than some of the other cars. Maybe take a look at it here. I've just seen it a couple corners. It really looks like when Cam gets on the brakes, the nose dives down a lot more aggressively than some of the other cars around.
Yeah, well, it must help. It also helps softer springs. Will also help with the curb strikes, especially at the chicane. See there, you can see there that under brakes as well. It sort of helps a little bit with the weight transfer, but you don't want too much weight transfer in these cars because they're all front engine rear wheel drive machines. So on board with Briggs, he's got a very big TTL Esports Aston Martin rear bumper right in front of him that he would like to be behind him, but I think they're both got the better run there down the hill into the old hairpin, but we're still stable. You can see there as well the curb strike Adam a little bit stiffer springs, but he's got a really good run there out of old hairpin.
Maybe the softer springs is helping with the slow speed mechanical grip, but not with the aero stability at higher speeds. I think that's potentially the trade-off that's being had here. We've seen that through the undulating higher speed sections there, Dance just suffering with all manner of understeer. Briggs was closing up massively, and when it comes to the traction off the hairpins or throwing it through this over the curbing, Cam's a bit more confident. Briggs there made a bit of a dog's breakfast of the chicane that time, which of course happens. It's a very, very difficult piece of racetrack. But these two are now catching up to Michael Healy right in front of them there. In front of them in shot also Reece Gardner, so 4th through to 7th, very close. Reece Gardner dives into the pits, so does Adam Briggs. So the orange, blue and white cars in different proportions and designs both coming into the pits.
Yep, and shot there of Marie. She's caught up sometime to Bo again. Only a second separates those two, but they've still got a pit, so... And back to the point of the rear view mirrors, David, I think the Corvette's got a rear-facing camera, sadly, so...
Oh, they were one of the first people to get around to doing that, weren't they?
Yes,
Pickering has jumped Gardner in the pit lane, and Hinz has also pitted as well and slots out between them. So the time on pit lane, absolutely critical. It was 11.3 stationary for Gardner, 10.3 stationary for Briggs. Maybe just getting the car rolling from a stop. Been a little bit more effective. I'm getting confused between Pickering and Briggs here because Briggs is out behind Thomas Hinz, but certainly the earlier pit stop from Hinz helps him out a little bit there. Now we see our leader, Craig Edwards, is on the pit lane. Everyone's following him in as well. So Bo Albert in, Marie Hrushka in. Looks like just about everyone taking the fuel now. Battle for 10th place though, Corey.
Yeah, battle for 10th is on. Hinz and Briggs, they've both pitted. So this battle is for position. This is not for track position or on track position. This is for the finish of the race. Very close to each other through the hairpin. You've got Reece there in front of him, who's actually lost a bit of time. So they come through here. But leaders are now out of the pits. Edwards, Bo, Hrushka are out of the pits. And Healy and Dance's battle here. But what's going to happen? They're both going to get jumped by Pickering. And they're going to slot just in front of Reece. Reece is going to have a bit of an attack move on Dance. We'll have to slot behind him though, and that's helped with Hinz because now Hinz is right behind Reece. So Pickering has absolutely schooled everyone in that pack. He has jumped every person in that pack and is now in a very comfortable position. A massive gap between him and Healy and a massive gap between Healy and Dance. And oh, Reece! Hinzy and Reece going at it. And now Briggs is going to say, I want a bit of this action too. Has a look up the inside, gives each other plenty of space there. And again, oh no! Oh, Briggs. That's not good for Briggs or Hinz, but Hinz will sadly lose time. We'll get a replay on that one. I think Briggs' spotter called clear maybe or something like that, and
I think there was a bit of a wiggle. I think what's happened is Briggs has had just a teeny bit of oversteer right there in correcting it. He's tracked out right to where Thomas Hinz was. A little bit of contact there. I think they'll both carry on through trying to be very optimistic with his move on Reece Gardner. Hinz has lost out. Now Gardner, who had his battle with Cameron Dance as Dance was coming out of the pits, that continues. Look a little bit further back. Simon Black, Nathan Huppets. Huppets runs very, very deep on the brakes. I think that's sorted itself out. Black holds on to 13th position for the moment. Hruska has grabbed a bit of time through the pit stops on Bo Albert. They've been separated by not much at all, and Hruska is through. Was there a slowdown from Bo there? And that is a change for second place.
Is there a slowdown, or maybe a little? He underfueled the car by accident, trying to save a bit of fuel here in this last stint of the race. Got 9 to go, and behind the scene there, you can see Briggs is now in front of Reese. On in front of them, someone went
Dance
wide.
has gone off the circuit. So Briggs has come through. Reese Gardner side by side with Cam Dance. Cam Dance has got the inside. I'm not sure that'll end well for Gardner.
This will help Pins though. He's going to thread the needle 3 wide. Can he get Dance though? That's the question. Yes, he will. Oh, no. There's a bump. There's a bump.
Gardner takes advantage of the parking lot to go straight to the apex and get it pointed, get the throttle open. So he's ahead of Dance now. Hins has gotten through on both of them. Dance just keeps your nose to the inside of the rear quarter of Reese Gardner. Gardner gets ahead with the traction down and leads into turn 1. So Hins has jumped both of them, and Gardner has jumped Cameron Dance. His little mistake through Coppice has cost him 2 positions, maybe even 3. And all of that's let Adam Briggs get away. So this is now a 3-car pack. Pickering, Healy, and Briggs have all skipped town on this one, and this is what remains of the train.
Yep, they've went see you later from this pack, and it's now went from a 6-car battle to a 3-car battle, with Hins in front of it, and they could be catching up to Briggs, but Dance had a bit of a lawn mowing experience there out of the last corner. Oh, Reese is also a little bit tail happy out of there, so they're all trying to find as much grip as they can. They all have 8 laps to go, or 7.5 now, even less, as they're all trying to find grip, trying to get the car stable, trying to get the run into the corner, and they've now all caught up to Briggs. And really close gap now between Briggs and India.
Must have been some problems for Bo Albert. His last lap, 3 seconds off the pace. It's gone from battling with Murray Hruska to he is now, what is that, 6 or 7 seconds behind. He had the shortest time in the pit lane of anyone, 9.7 seconds compared to 11.4 for your leader Craig Edwards, who's also in an Aston Martin DBR9. The same car. Bo has taken, what, about 15% less fuel. So that's possible that Bo is having to save fuel here. Otherwise, you know, he's encountered some other kind of problem. And trying to hold off Warren Pickering in the final laps, because that's closing. We look back into, well, yeah, it's only 3 seconds now, and Bo Albert was 5 seconds off the pace last lap. So at the current rate, that gap will close very, very rapidly. Warren Pickering might be able to smell a podium right now, and he's dragging Michael Healy along with him. Bo Albert, at the current pace of his last 2 laps, could very, very much be in trouble. Love to ride on board with him and see maybe where he's shifting, where he's lifting out of the throttle. Must be lifting and coasting pretty hard there, Corey. Clearly a tactical mistake.
Yeah, either a tactical mistake or something wrong with his calculation, because to go 2 seconds lower than the leader, and he's
Picked
now...
the pace back up on this lap. It's still a second slower than what he was doing before. So instead of a 1 minute 27 like last time, he's back into the 1 minute 23s. The 1 minute 23.8 for him that time by. It was a 23.1 for Pickering, 22.9 for Michael Healy. Even at this slightly improved pace, they're still going to catch Albert before the end of the race. And in fact, even in the next 2 laps or so, 5 laps of racing remaining. Bo Albert's championship charge and his podium position in this race under threat right now.
Yeah, he needs to try and save as much fuel as he can, because he's got now a 2-second gap between him and Pickering. So if I was Pickering, I'd be all on the loud pedal, trying to attack as much as he can to catch up to Bo Albert and a potential podium.
So that gap was 3 seconds. It's now under 2. I'm thinking only a matter of 2 or so laps, and Pickering will be right there, looking a lot more confident. Healy still also just a little bit quicker than that, just a couple tenths of a second per lap. Battle for 3rd place is getting very, very interesting. Fortunately, our battles further back have all spread out just a teeny bit more, but I think there's possibility for a little bit more spark, a little bit more action in the dying laps of round 4 of the Oceanic Sim Racing GT1 Challenge.
Yeah, it's you all gotta hope. As you can see, they're all taking as much curb and runoff grass as they can through the old hairpin. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Bo must be back on the pace again. Or either that or he's got very bad tyres that he can't keep up with pace. Last lap was 23.9. It was slower than his lap before, but he's gained a little bit of time between him and Pickering as they come on down to the back straight.
Bo might have realised the situation he's in and decided to use up some of the gap, save some fuel aggressively, be able to go a little bit harder towards the end. This is a track where you can defend if you need to. You are very difficult to pass through the early sections of the track, and if you're good on the brakes, good with the power down off the corners through the hairpins and the slower corners here, you can absolutely defend while trying to save fuel. The gap has come down on that lap by only about 0.3 of a second. Pickering will still see that gap closing. It'll motivate him. The pressure now ramping up just a little bit on Albert.
I think Albert, at the rate that it's going, he will get that 3rd, but he's got to keep the pace up where he's got it. So, last lap between the two, 22.8 for Bo Albert, 22.6 for Pickering. So, 0.2 that lap difference, but Bo has still got what is a 1.3 second gap that he can use as much as he can, but not too much. So, but Healy and Briggs has also closed up a bit, 1.3 seconds a gap.
Yeah, we've got all of our field from 3rd down to about 11th, just all very nicely, evenly spaced, about 1.5 seconds apart, sort of like how air traffic control might space landing planes or something. Just keep them just a safe distance separated, which isn't what we really want to see from a broadcast perspective, from a racing perspective, from an entertainment standpoint. They all are pretty close. Any mistakes, like we saw earlier from Cam Dance, where he ran wide, lost a couple of seconds, that would cost positions. There's no safety margin, no comfort factor for anyone out here except Craig Edwards, your man on screen, your leader, who has 11 seconds over Marie Hrushka, who has then 8 seconds over Bo Albert. From pole position, done all the right things so far has Craig Edwards. And Hrushka doing everything right there as well. Grabs 2nd place. It's Bo Albert on down from 3rd through to about 11th place. Gonna have to keep our eyeballs in the last 3 laps here.
Yeah, Albert has got a little bit of a gap, a bigger gap now between him and Pickering. But there will still be 2 laps to go at the line, so if Albert has done the strategy right or wrong, this could turn into a race for 3rd place if he's got it wrong. If he's got it right, we could see him finish this way. But Pickering has a mistake there. He lost a bit of time. He might have had a slowdown or something along those lines.
It's now a battle for 4th place, Pickering and Healy, and right behind that, Hins had closed up Briggs a little bit. Like I was hoping, it's all coming alive just a little bit as we get towards the end of the race here. Healy's been pretty consistent, 2 laps to go, and you can see there, Bo Albert's got a little bit more comfort margin, but there's Pickering, Healy, Briggs, Hins, 4th through to 7th place. And Thomas Hins is there in 7th, just sizing the rest of them up. Reese Gardner had a good run early. Fortunately, the pit strategy not quite working out for him, now finds himself back in 8th place. And Cam Dance, the mistake through Coppice, is now back in 9th. 10th place is the Talk Inc. boys, Leah and McLeod. What am I reading? I'm getting confused on my timing screen. But Mitch McLeod is catching his teammate ever so slightly in the dying laps as well. He is hoping for an exciting finish on the last lap, which Craig Edwards will be starting very, very soon.
Yep, Craig Edwards will be getting that white flag for 1 to go, but Pickering and Healy is starting to ramp up even more. A little bit of time gained and a little bit of time lost there, but Pickering did lose time beforehand on back at it, out of the corner before the back straight. He did get a little bit too much that inside curve, but putting 4 wheels over the white line. But the Talking boys are going at it even more. Oh, Pickering spun it, the last corner. Coming onto the last lap, so he's going to lose 1, 2, 3 spots. Oh, that's not good for him. Get a replay on that one. I think he locked up the rears on the apex, and the car didn't want to go anywhere else but sideways, so...
Bit of an off-cambered hairpin as well, so once it's going, fortunately he's just gone around, been lucky to not be hit by anyone, but it's what I suggested, that any little mistake with the cars so closely spaced will cost you a few positions. That does shuffle Briggs and Pickering back just a little bit. Healy and Briggs is now a battle, and Craig Edwards has about half a lap to go, and he will have the checkered flag waved for him, and he will be, I believe, gotten my numbers right here, the first 2-time winner in Oceanic Sim Racing GT1 Challenge. First 3 rounds with 3 different winners. Craig Edwards won round 2, and now here, round 4, comes towards the checkered flag, headlights flashing. He is your points leader and your 2-time race winner here in the Oceanic Sim Racing GT1 Challenge. Marie Rushka brings her Corvette out of the final corner for 2nd place. She'll be pretty happy with that. Issues for Bo Albert. We were worried for him. He's managed to just find enough pace to hold on to that podium position. And Healy under pressure from Briggs. Healy will still get 4th. Briggs will round out your top 5. And Thomas Hinds grabs 6th place.
You see the rest of the cars coming across the line there. Pickering, what could have been a good 4th, he'll finish 7th. Reese Gardner 8th, Cam Bance 9th. Talking boys, Leah and McLeod finished 10th and 11th. Nethercoat finishing 12th after what could have been for him as well. And then you've got Huppets and Fullerton still to cross the line, but
scruffy last lap for McLeod. He had a problem somewhere there. He was battling with his teammate Ashley Lear and has ended up finishing about 5 seconds behind. So something for him on the last lap, but it does not take away from this man, Craig Edwards. He's your points leader after 4 rounds, your first 2-time race winner in this series. And you saw as he came to the finish line towards the checkered flag, headlights flashing. He's obviously pretty pleased with that. So here's your finishing order. Your winner, Craig Edwards from Marie Rushka, first of the Chevrolet Corvette C6Rs. And Bo Albert rounds out the podium. 4th goes to Michael Healy. 5th goes to Adam Briggs. 6th is Thomas Hinds. 7th is Warren Pickering. Issue a bit of a spin late on. 8th is Reese Southpaw Racer Gardner.
Yeah, and finishing off your top 10 will be Cameron Dance after a thread the needle moment there early on in the race, and the first of the Talking boys there, Ashley Lear, and then to round off your finishes, Mitchell McLeod, Matthew Nethercoat, Nathan Huppets, Oliver Fullerton, Chris Barnes, Simon Black, Troy Maguire, and your DNFs, Simone Gelli and Carl Raper. So, I think that race tonight was it wasn't as exciting as Spa was, but it still had its exciting moments here, David.
Yeah, definitely delivered in the excitement stakes. Maybe a bit front-loaded in that case, but nonetheless, it was good to watch. There was close racing, there was close battling, a little bit of contact, a little bit of pit strategy, everything we want out of a race of the OSR GT1 Challenge, round 4 from Donington Park. Well, I'm not sure we'll grab any interviews this time, But thank you so much for tuning in here. We'll be back next week, next Thursday, with round 5, the OSR GT1 challenge, and of course plenty more from SimSpeed TV, both here on our own channel and on the iRacing Esports Network. Plenty coming up in that regard, like the Oceanic Endurance Championship. Not this weekend, but next. All the V8 Scops action and all the other series that we cover from SimSpeed TV. Do subscribe to us. Do check us out on Facebook or wherever. Stay up to date with all of the sim racing action that we broadcast. I was David Haynes, Jay Kennedy with all of the cameras, the graphics, and the buttons. And joining me, Corey Ott. Thank you so much for tuning in, and good night.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Sec's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?